It's a Tuesday morning in Edinburgh. The rain is doing that soft, sideways thing it always does. There's no alarm going off because you don't have to be anywhere. And while you were asleep, somewhere in the dark, inside a server humming away in the city of London, a handful of Britain's biggest companies quietly moved money into your account. Not a salary, not a bonus, a dividend. You woke up richer than when you went to bed, and you didn't lift a single finger. That's the dream, isn't it? To own a slice of the businesses that actually run this country, the banks, the oil giants, the insurers, the supermarkets, and to have them pay you simply for existing. So today we're going to answer the only question that really matters. How much do you genuinely need invested to live off dividends in the UK in 2025 and 2026? Let's get into it. Now, before we touch a single number, you need to understand the secret weapon sitting in your back pocket. Because Britain quietly hands you one of the most generous deals on planet Earth, and most people barely use it. It's called the Stocks and Shares ISA. In a lot of countries, when a company pays you a dividend, the tax man is standing right there with his hand out before the money even reaches you. But inside an ISA, that doesn't happen. Every single penny of dividend income earned inside that wrapper is yours. No tax, no forms, no letter from HMRC, forever. You can shelter up to £20,000 of new money inside your ISA every tax year. And once it's in there, it grows, it compounds, and it pays you, completely untouched. This is the foundation. Everything we talk about today gets dramatically easier the moment your dividends are living inside that tax-free fortress. Right. So how much does a comfortable British life actually cost? Luckily, we don't have to guess. Every year, the Pensions and Lifetime Savings Association, the PLSA, publishes its retirement living standards, and the latest figures give us three very clear targets for one person. The first is the modest life. This covers the essentials, with a little room to breathe, running a small home, a holiday in the UK, the odd meal out. The PLSA puts that at around £31,700 a year. The second is the comfortable life. This is the one most people are actually aiming for. A 2-week holiday in Europe, a few weekend breaks, a car on the drive, and not having to flinch when the heating goes on. That comes in at around £43,900 a year. And then there's the luxurious life. To put it in perspective, £43,900 is roughly what the PLSA says a couple needs for comfort. So for one person, anything north of £60,000 a year is genuinely lavish. First-class seats, the bigger house, spoiling the grandkids without checking the bank app. 3 numbers, 31,000, 44,000, 60,000 and up. Hold on to them, because now we turn them into a target. Here's where it gets beautiful, because the maths is genuinely simple. Your dividend income is just your pot, multiplied by your yield. So if we want to know the pot, we flip it around. We take the income we want, and we divide it by the yield we can realistically earn. Now, the FTSE 100 has historically thrown off, somewhere between 3.5% and 4.5%. Today, after a strong run, the index itself is closer to 3%. So to comfortably hit 4%, you're building a deliberately income-tilted portfolio, the higher quality dividend payers and a good income fund, rather than just buying the index and hoping. So let's use 4%, and let's go for the comfortable life. We'll round that £43,900 down to a clean £43,000. £43,000 divided by 4%, that gives you £1,075,000. That's the number. To wake up on that rainy Tuesday in Edinburgh and never need a salary again, you're aiming for just over £1 million, working for you, inside that tax-free ISA. The modest life, closer to £800,000. The luxurious life, you're heading towards £1.5 million. It sounds enormous, but stay with me, because there are 2 villains trying to make that number bigger than it needs to be, and one quiet trick that shrinks it. The first villain is invisible, and it works by leaking your money away one drip at a time. Outside of an ISA or a pension, you get a dividend allowance. Once upon a time, it was £5,000. Then it was cut and cut again, and today it sits at a measly £500. 500. After that, every dividend you receive gets taxed. And here's the part most people missed. From April 2026, those dividend tax rates went up. A basic rate taxpayer now hands over 10.75%. A higher rate taxpayer loses 35.75%. More than a third of your income gone before it ever reaches your pocket. That's what I call a tax leak. Every pound bleeding out to HMRC is a pound that isn't compounding for you, and it quietly drains your financial bandwidth. forcing you to build a bigger and bigger pot just to stand still. The fix is almost insultingly simple. Hold your dividend payers inside the ISA, and the leak seals shut. The villain has no power inside the fortress. The second villain is far more seductive because it looks like a gift. You'll be scrolling, and you'll spot a stock paying a 10 or even a 12% yield, and a little voice says, "Brilliant, I'll just buy that. I need half the pot." Stop. A yield that high is almost never a reward. It's usually a warning light. Remember, yield is the dividend divided by the share price. So when a yield suddenly balloons to 10 or 12%, it's usually not because the company got more generous, it's because the share price collapsed. The market is screaming that a dividend cut is coming. We call these value traps. Certain tired mining stocks, some of the old tobacco names, businesses in slow decline, they dangle an enormous yield right up until the moment they slash it. And you're left holding a falling share price and a shrinking income. A safe 4% that grows every year will quietly destroy a fragile 12% that detonates. Chase quality, not the highest number on the screen. So where do you actually keep all this? You've really got two shelters, and they behave very differently. The first is the ISA. Money goes in after tax, but everything after that is yours. Tax-free growth, tax-free dividends, and crucially, tax-free access at any age. Total freedom. The second is the SIPP, your self-invested personal pension. The SIPP is wonderful on the way in because the government tops up your contributions with tax relief. Put money in and it gets an instant boost. But there's a catch. Call it the pension trap. You can't touch a penny of it until pension age. And when you finally draw it out, beyond your tax-free lump sum, it gets taxed as income. Tax relief on the way in, tax on the way out. The smart play for most people isn't choosing one. It's using both the SIPP for that juicy tax relief and the long game, and the ISA for the flexible, tax-free income you can actually live on. Whatever age you decide, enough is enough. Now for the quiet trick that shrinks the whole thing, and it's the closest thing to magic that investing offers. It's called the DRIP, the Dividend Reinvestment Plan. Instead of spending your dividends while you're still building, you automatically use them to buy more shares, which means next quarter you own more shares, which pay more dividends, which buy even more shares. This is the snowball. In the early years, it feels painfully slow. A few extra shares, a rounding error. But somewhere around year 15 to year 20, the maths turns a corner, and the income your portfolio throws off starts buying meaningful chunks all on its own. A small, hand-planted portfolio quietly becomes a self-sustaining forest, one that eventually grows faster than you ever could on your own. Your only job in those years is to keep planting and to leave it alone. So we found the number, just over £1 million for the comfortable life, and we found the path, the tax-free ISA, the realistic 4%, sealing the leak, dodging the trap, and letting the snowball roll. But here's the real lesson, and it's the one I want you to walk away with. There's a gap in this country. On one side are people earning huge salaries who somehow never get free because every pound that comes in goes straight back out. On the other side are people, sometimes on very ordinary incomes, who quietly bought the assets, and now those assets pay them to exist. Wealth in Britain was never really about your salary. It's about how much of the country you own. So the only question left is the one you ask yourself tomorrow morning. Are you going to spend the next 20 years renting your life or owning a piece of it? Start planting, and I'll see you on a rainy Tuesday.